Hey guys, Kane here. So a while ago I kinda broke Devil, and I wanted to keep it a secret, the formation rather, and not the strength. But after showing some pictures and snippets of my formation and what it can do on our own Discord, people have copy pasted it all over the official Discord anyway, so there isn't too many reasons of hiding it anymore, since either way, people who will want to find it out will do so without even watching this video. So looking at the formation at first, we have to look at the bottom line that has 4 units: Dendroid, Devil, Manticore and Efreeti. Each one of these do their part in the line itself. Dendroid at 5-star Awaken reduces enemy defense by 30% whoever hits it, and usually 3, sometimes 4 units in the enemy formation always hit it to get their defense removed, and if the defense is removed, Devil does more damage. Manticore reduces the defense, tenacity and damage reduction of the tank it is attacking, so you would have 2 units which would reduce the defenses of the tank, and then Efreeti, which would burn the entire field, providing more critical value towards the Devil, because if the Devil is facing burning enemies, he increases his own critical value by 500. Not only that, Efreeti itself has 62% unit damage, and it also gives other Infernos 15% more unit damage with his Awakened Flaming Shield, so in that sense Efreeti would have somewhere around 77% unit damage, which in general can be where many of the tank's damage reduction stands at. Some can go over 100, some can go more, but more or less Efreeti's basic attacks will still do decent damage and assist Devil and others to remove the tank in front of them. The only tank that I failed to remove was a very decked out Behemoth, 6-star, 3-star Awaken and 24 strength potential, where if one unit dies on my field, Behemoth would be healed in over 50% of its health, which can delay Xeron and Devil for a very long time. Devil itself is the only real damage dealer in this team that does in fact matter to you. If Efreeti would die, no bother, nothing is lost. Moving to one more line up, you see Centaur and Dwarf. Centaur because I believe I did some calculations before, and with Dragon Mutare I could manage to get Centaur's damage reduction over 180% easily. Under Xeron I think he would have about 140 or 150 damage reduction overall during specific times in the battle, and this is very important because Xeron without proper tanks is just fodder for many other faction leaders. Dendroid and Centaur both excel at debuffing and tanking damage. Both remove defenses and can buff each other to perform better in terms of damage reduction or defense buffs. Dwarf, well, Dwarf was redesigned a while back. I believe most have told you that the Dwarf only buffed health percent in China and Korea, and yes, that is what Dwarf still does in those versions. But Dwarf in our version has all the buffs they mention in their passives. I think I have not tested one of those only, and all others were properly working. You can also see that yourself, because any units around the Dwarf become pretty big due to the buffs taking effect. The way I have placed Dwarf, he will be buffing everyone around him except for the Minotaur on 3rd line, because Minotaur is 4x. Dwarf can buff diagonally if the unit is 1x or an SSR but 4x. I believe we have tested, and if the unit is 4x and SSR, most work diagonally as well. I believe the only SR exception was Earth Elemental, who would also get buffed diagonally, but other than that, only one square to the side of the Dwarf, so in this case I am buffing 4 units and the Dwarf itself, making it 5. The only 3 that matter is Dendroid, Centaur and of course Devil. Who is your main damage dealer? And you would ask, but is this worth it, sacrificing one grid to provide more buffs? And my answer would be yes, my Padawan, it is. Because I have even added emblems on Dwarf to make its skills level 17, just to increase the buffs it provides. Moving to the 3rd line, we see Minotaur and Bone Dragon. Minotaur recently just got awakened and it became a pretty decent tank that can shred damage reduction and heal itself. I think in terms of tankiness it rivals the Centaur when fully decked out, and not under Dragon Mutare. The android still remaining the reigning champion for what it does and or provides for the team. My Bone Dragon is like 150,000 power, 3-star, and he is here just to provide early damage reduction removal on the enemy so Devil would do more damage, and I need him to die after the early few seconds. I know Bone Dragon would die since it's weak, I know Dwarf will die since it's weak, and my Minotaur is not really that strong either. Potential is not finished and talents not upgraded. 3 units dying will trigger the backup, of which we will not discuss in this video here, because there are a few routes you can choose and most of them would depend on your server. In general, this build may not be efficient for you if your server would be filled with too many gems. 1 or 2 is fine, but having too many you may need to add more dispels and or defense removers that you even see on my screen to always score those easy wins. These are my unit emblems. Some of them of course have to be or need to be changed, like Bone Dragon's emblems, like Minotaur's emblems and so on, but this is just more to show how a proper devil has to be upgraded. You just say fuck the entire team and just invest into the devil, and that pretty much is Xeron's formation. Now you may think this formation is so bad that it will just never work and I am only trolling. I can in fact win everyone on my server and even defend against many with Xeron, except the KRAKEN, which sits on rank 1. And that doesn't mean that they are weak because they cannot beat Xeron and or devil. It is because you are comparing an underdeveloped devil to something that can ruin your day in the next 5 seconds in the match, and I would assume that the developers are indeed nerfing the late game devil rather than the early one, but it is kinda saddening that they have no buffs in particular to make up for it. So most people when using this would see, oh wow, such weak, probably useless, and move on. And when you try to argue with some people, they would just call the enemies weaker. And when you ask those people to show their own formation, whether or not they themselves know what they are talking about, they either show me a formation with plenty of 9x units, no synergies, or don't show me any formation at all, and or show me a Xeron formation filled with useless units. So it is really hard to see a very good and decked out devil because not too many know how to play him, and the formations do indeed shift from time to time because, well, unit scalings. So with all that said, and probably bored all of you to death, if you made it this far, I can show you some of the fights in my server. Please do note that I am not using any buffs. That being said, no mana, no critical and or attack buffs, none. So everything you see against everyone can be a lot better and a lot faster if I would just spend some privilege points. These fights will include our KRAKEN, who is almost 10 million power, which would put it at close to 3 million disadvantage than me, some other VIP 14 and 15 players, with me only being VIP 12. However, I will not commentate any of the fights since it will be pretty hard to do so, as the fights go on such a fast pace that even me trying to do that, I would confuse myself and go silent for the most of it, or sound stupid. However, I will leave the timestamps and their power numbers with each person I face down in the comments and description below the video. Some formations of course may not be full and or decked out from the enemy, but you have to understand devil does not have an awakening. Buffers can be improved further and so on, so the damage can get bigger than this. So saying, oh wow, this guy did not have this, does not really work when the devil itself can reach bigger levels than this, even with so many nerfs already done to him and other Inferno units, and in this case you just stop using Inferno units entirely and just use other factions instead. That is pretty much a Xeron formation for you. Thanks for watching and hope you guys have enjoyed this video.